Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the League of Ordinary Gentlemen proudly brings to you the Fantasy Football 5. Introducing Balls to the Wall, Brian Roberts, Jake, Ruth, and your commish, JT. The commish. Okay.
Yeah. I can't do it on Jen.
Messed that one up. So, how we doing, gentlemen?
It's a good Saturday, man.
SEC football's back. Sid and Aaron's excited somewhere because the slate is full.
But will he be excited this evening?
We'll see how the bets go.
Is that a scratch on the side of my truck?
No.
Like that matters at this point.
There's a big
turn around and
dent.
look.
There's a big dent in the front.
What is that down there at the bottom?
They don't look like a scratch. It looks like something's on
It looks like there's a hole.
There is
it.
a hole
at
there.
the bottom of the seat.
Yeah, all right.
All right, okay. We can get on that tangent.
Yeah.
All right, so how are we looking for week 3? Well, that's what we're going to try to present to you guys today. So why don't we start off with a little bit of injury report. So a lot of guys questionable this week, Brian. A lot of guys questionable. Who's the first guy we got that's questionable?
Darren Waller, knee injury, but I think he's going to look like he's going to play. You're going to get a lot of that moving forward for the rest of the season.
With Darren
Guys
Waller?
will be- No,
Just
just
guys
in
in
general. Guys will be listed as questionable.
Why was Darren Waller not double teamed the other night? Can anyone answer me that? Like, it was blatantly obvious every time Carr dropped back, he was going to throw it to Waller. And they're still like, oh, let's just put a linebacker on it and say, screw it. Let's just see what happens.
He got 16 targets, and the next highest targeted player had 3 for Vegas.
I'm going to go ahead and admit, I really coming into the season thought Darren Waller was not going to be near as good.
I was
I
opposite.
thought last year, with the Hard Knocks and all, like that was just hype. And he did pretty good last year, and I thought this isn't him. It's a fluke thing.
I think Waller's always been very highly regarded amongst NFL teams, even when he was with the Ravens. He was addicted to drugs then.
Right.
And
No, he's always
he changed it. He got clean. So, I mean, again, I think it's more not physical. Clearly, he's got that. Can he fight his demons off and stay focused on the field, which it looks like he is. So good for him. Next up, we got N'Keal Harry for New England. He has an ankle injury, but he is also expected to play. Look for that offense to continue to build under Cam Newton. Again, last week, another good performance by him against Seattle, even though Seattle has the worst passing defense in the NFL right now.
They do right now.
But still, Cam has looked accurate so far and looked pretty comfortable in that offense. So not having N'Keal would be a big loss to him, but it does look like he's expected to play.
All right. Going with New England, Julian Edelman has also been questionable. Julian Edelman, what was he looking at, Brian?
It's another knee injury.
Knee injury. They said he was questionable early in the week, but he is expected to play. Julian Edelman had a much better game than what I was predicting.
Yeah.
Because he didn't look very much involved in week 1. But when they had to air it out a little bit last week, that was Cam's dude.
Yeah.
And he looked good. Who we got next? Questionable.
We have Sammy Watkins also on there. Concussion and neck injury. He's still in protocol right now, so not a good sign typically.
Yeah.
So if you hadn't heard that he got cleared yet, I feel a little worried about that.
I think Brian just picked him up too. They don't play till Monday, so there's a shot that he plays. But
are you willing to leave him in your lineup with that?
Well, Ryan, I don't think Ryan's going to. He's got Terry McLaurin, Deontay Johnson, Marquise Brown.
Man, that's more of a future.
Yeah, Clyde Edwards-Helaire at flex. So, I don't see that happening. Next up, questionable. Who we got?
Josh Jacobs. It's hip. They're saying he's going to play, but I'd be a little concerned about that moving forward.
Josh Jacobs has looked good. I'd say, top 5 running back right now.
Easily.
So, they're going to need him. They're going to need him to be healthy. So
they are. They're saying he's going to play some. But you're talking about a running back getting hit one time with a hip. Yeah.
Devontae Booker ended up getting quite a bit more work Monday night than I think anybody was anticipating. So that may be a sign of just kind of managing workload a little bit with Josh Jacobs. But yeah, Josh Jacobs, that dude's good. That dude's a stud. All right. So how many more guys we got on the question list?
I think the big one right here is Julio Jones. And it's a hamstring injury, which seems like that's kind of been a trend here lately. Hamstrings always make me nervous with a guy that's expected to blow by people. Julio Jones, the impact this would have if he's out on Calvin.
It's more than just Julio that gets affected in this.
Matt Ryan, the running game. I mean, the whole offense changes without Julio out there. So there's a big one. And then also Jerry Jeudy ribs. He's a game time decision as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and just speed round through this one. Kenny Galladay, still out, well, questionable with a hamstring. They're really hoping that he comes back this week, which would really help that offense out.
For sure. I want to go back to Julio real quick because I've had something come in my mind for the past couple of days. So I picked up Russell Gage on Wednesday. If Julio doesn't play, does that make Gage a better play, or is Gage more so the benefactor of teams doubling Julio and then, again, always seeing single coverage? Like,
it's just moving up the ladder. The double coverage on Julio becomes a double coverage on Calvin, which leaves Russell Gage.
You think they double Calvin Ridley?
Yeah, they're going to double Calvin Ridley.
If Julio does not play?
He's probably the number one receiver in football right now.
He is the number one receiver.
So, yeah, he's going to get all that attention. The only reason, to me personally, the only reason he was the number one receiver in football is because of Julio Jones.
And they're always down. They cannot get a running game established at all.
But Chicago, are they going to throw the ball a lot against Chicago?
I just think they can't get a running game established. I mean,
they have to. They have to pass to open up their running game. But they don't have a running game to open up to. And it's like he's saying, the defense isn't going to get a stop.
Here's the other thing is if I was the Chicago Bears, knowing that offensive line clearly hasn't been able to get a running game established, I would be sending as much pressure, man up with one over Ridley for help. So I think Gage could see kind of where Calvin's been the last couple of weeks as that number two who's getting a little bit more one-on-ones because everyone still shades to Julio because he is the best in the game. But, yeah, if he's out, that really changes that offense.
I'm looking at your Russell Gage pick right now, which is a great pickup because as a number 3 receiver, through 2 weeks, he put up 15.9 and 13.6.
And he almost had a 40-yard touchdown throw, but Julio dropped it. Which is
he put up 114 yards in week 1.
Yeah,
on 12 targets.
I'm curious as to, is he like a number 2 guy, or is he again just a benefactor of like there's got to be somebody open because Julio's the man and Calvin Ridley is ascending very quickly.
Right.
That's just kind of what's going on through my head. We got a couple guys doubtful. Who's looking on the short side of the questionable end?
We got 2 names. We got Devontae Adams as well as Phillip Lindsay. No offense, and kind of skip over the Phillip Lindsay because he has been kind of ceding carries to Melvin Gordon. But I think the big one is Devontae Adams.
Well, because nobody really saw that coming. Like when he got taken out last week. Well, they were up big, and there was no reason to put him back in, and that's what the floor was saying. It's like, we didn't really need him, but now, a couple days removed.
I feel like this is the thing that you have to do with Devontae Adams. Is like you live with the weeks like week 1 where he puts up 17 catches, whatever yards he had, like 190 and 2 touchdowns. I mean, he was like ridiculous. But then I feel like the last few seasons in particular, he's gotten hurt and missed multiple games, which was kind of a concern for me if I was drafting him in the first round. Now, when he plays, he's wide receiver 1 all day long. But it's how much time he does miss. And how is that going to impact the offense? I mean, we saw last week Aaron Jones, which I know Ryan wishes he was here to talk about him right now, had a monster game.
Poured up.
But now is that becoming a focal point going into this week for defenses where they're like, hey, clearly without Adams, which most teams have been game planning to take him away, are they going to shift that focus to Jones? And then who's the benefactors of that?
Yeah, that's a good point. So just pulling this up real quick, going off what you were saying, Jake. So 2019, Devontae Adams played 12 games. 2018, 15. 2017, 14. So he
so roughly 3 weeks a year.
He misses a couple games each year.
He's still no Will Fuller.
No. But, I mean, it's just a concern that you have with him sometimes. And I think last year it was kind of late in the season when he kind of missed sometimes. And that's something many of us look at when you're doing your fantasy drafts is like, who's going to be the guy that turns it on around playoff time and who's someone I can count on. It's okay if they miss weeks 2 and 3, but are you there week 15 and 16 for me? Like, are you winning me games? And so that's a concern for me is when I draft is like injury past and when they get hurt. So, I mean, I guess if you're a Devontae Adams owner, you're at least kind of like, well, I'd much rather lose him now for like a week or two than he does this when it gets cold and it's week 16 and he's like, yeah, I'm too tight to play.
Oh, for sure. I mean, yeah, that's like drafting Gronk like almost every year, like the past 2 years. It's like, dude, I don't care if if he plays 8 games, that's fine.
Yeah.
Just let him be the last 8 games.
Right.
You know what I mean?
You always want him down the stretch.
Right. With Philip Lindsay, real quick, yeah, I don't see him. I think if Melvin Gordon has if he has a big game, then Philip Lindsay's just really going to be a change of pace.
My biggest
going forward.
My biggest need was for him to show out against Pitt. If he could do good against Pittsburgh, then I feel confident running him every week. And he had a good game against Pittsburgh. More second half than first. But Ryan, if you think about it, Ryan said before that week, Gordon has to get a lot of carries. He's got to work into, and then he eventually takes off, and that's what happened.
Yeah, I mean they got Tampa this week.
Mm-hmm.
Tampa's got a good run defense.
They do.
If Melvin Gordon has another good game, Phil Lindsay's suffering from turf toe. I've never had turf toe.
Never been on turf long enough to get it.
But I know for looking back at previous players suffering from that same injury, it's 3 to 4 week injury. Sometimes it can kind of linger. So
It's good for me. The longer he's out,
yeah.
the more Denver just says, you know what, just make it Melvin Gordon.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So we got big names that are out this week. So Jake, I know a couple of those are off your team. So why don't you go ahead and highlight some of the big outs for this week?
I'll go over the first big one, my highest draft pick that is out, Kittle. So Kittle's out 2 weeks in a row. Had actually practiced during the week, looked promising for his return. And they said the conditions at MetLife turf was a big reason why they're
still investigating that, right?
Well, I think so. Which, again, from a fantasy owner, I'm cool with that, to be honest with you. I would much rather Kittle miss this week 3, and then be able to play the rest of the season than rush him back with a knee on a turf that just claimed multiple ACL tears with knee injuries. And I was able to get his backup this week, which had a good week last week in that offense that emphasized the tight end with Jordan Reed, which I think everyone at this table will say, when Jordan Reed has been healthy in his career, he is a baller.
One of the best tight ends in football.
Solid, yeah.
He reminds me of a non-murdering Aaron Hernandez. That he can make. Well, I mean, look at their style of play. Athletic, can make a lot of big plays, but he's just had multiple concussions throughout his career. So Kittle is out.
You know who else had multiple concussions?
O.J. Simpson.
No, that's not
Aaron
I thought we were going murderers row with that. I just thought we was going to keep talking about those guys.
So again, Kittle's out playing in MetLife, which again I'm good with that. And then AJ Brown, they did when they first reported this injury, said it could be 2-week injury with a knee bruise. He is out, which is a little disappointing because Tannehill's kind of started finding that rhythm. He's throwing it well. So Corey Davis was my pickup of the week to kind of replace that. He kind of was the benefactor last week, and that was a first-round pick a couple years ago, was he not, Davis?
Yeah, Corey Davis was
like a top 10 pick, right?
They've just been hoping and praying that Corey Davis turns into that number one guy.
Bishop Sankey.
I think he reminds me of what they drafted him, and this was during the time they traded for this player as well, Randy Moss. If you don't remember, later Randy Moss's career got traded to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And they brought in Corey Davis around that time period or right after him with the hope that he'd be a big vertical vet because he's tall, he's fast. They were hoping he'd come in and stretch the field. He just hasn't really developed the way they were hoping. But maybe he gets a chance here with Brown out to shine a little bit, making my decision of who is in the rotating door receiver for Jake Ruth even more difficult because I don't have anyone really set.
Corey Davis reminds me of Kenny Britt. Potential, there, big receiver, just hadn't done it yet. But there is potential there. So we'll see what happens with Corey Davis. It's worth a shot, though, with A.J. Brown being out. Brian, who else we got out this week? I know you've got a couple guys.
Yeah, I've got Jack Gum. I got a lot of guys out. Raheem Mostert's out, and that's
Did
out of
you
the-
did you expect that
yeah.
this week?
But see, here's the thing. Raheem Mostert was the big killing of football, fantasy football of week 2, and everybody else is pretty much this guy's out 4 to 6. This guy's out for the season. This guy's out whatever. Raheem Mostert is just week to week, which is the worst. It's the worst. So I knew he wasn't going to play this week going forward. I don't know what his deal is. And Jamison Crowder, I don't know if part of it's depression because he's having to play with the Jets. Yes, I mean, it's rough. It's rough to be a Jet. And look, I like Jamison Crowder, and he was a good pickup for me in the draft. But when Jamison Crowder is pretty much your main offensive guy, there's a lot of problems.
Yeah, I think Jamison Crowder's he'd be like a great number 2 receiver.
Yeah,
anyway.
Or number 3.
But number 1, he's not the dominating presence.
Right. If you're talking about a game coming up and you say, well, if Jamison Crowder's not playing, they don't have a chance. Something's wrong.
They just don't have any weapons right now.
No, they have nothing.
They brought in Le'Veon to be the Swiss Army knife.
Right.
Le'Veon's Le'Veon didn't look good last year. He's already hurt this year. Frank Gore is now the starting running back.
Maybe their best offensive weapon this week.
Yeah.
The Renaissance Iron Man that is Frank Gore.
Everyone going into the season was like, it's got to be Jacksonville is the worst team in football. They don't have a chance. They've traded away to everybody. At least Jacksonville. I know they lost Thursday and didn't play too well then, but they've at least shown some promise. Like the Jets, what about them has looked even remotely like they're going towards winning?
They got new uniforms.
They do?
Yeah, they changed them up a little bit.
They got something going.
Yeah, I mean they look good. That was last year. Changed them. It was last year. This year. I don't know. Nobody keeps up with the Jets.
I agree. Jets don't look.
But Frank
good.
Gore, I mean, he's going to retire when he's ready to retire. Nothing's going to stop Frank Gore but Frank Gore.
You think Andrew Renzel's ready to say Sam Darnold is not the guy?
No, not yet. He's all
Out of every quarterback that has played in the NFL since Aaron Rodgers became starting quarterback, he would not start any one of them except for Sam Darnold over Aaron Rodgers.
All right, let me ask you this question. You brought up Frank Gore. Where is Frank Gore on the all-time rushing leader?
He's been in since 1986, so
not true. 2005, but close.
Is he top 10?
I want you to give me a number. Where is he on the all-time rushing yards leader?
4th.
Okay, Jake throws a 4 out.
I don't know if I want to go that high. 7th.
Jake, you're the closest. He is 3rd.
Is he really? How close is he to 2nd?
1,300 yards from Walter Payton.
He's got Walter Payton and Emmitt Smith as only 2 guys ahead of him all time.
2005, and I think a lot of people forget he was dominant at the 49ers.
No, Frank Gore. But
8 years, he was like the guy in San Francisco.
How far did you say he was from 2nd?
He's 1,300, less than 1,300.
So he's got to play 2 more seasons.
He's got to play at least 2 more seasons.
I think 2's not even going to cut into a half.
To be the leader, he's right under 3,000.
He'll never take
So
first.
you got to think, if he plays 10 more years, he might get it.
Yeah, he could be a 70-year-old man out there playing football, but
Well, Brett Favre did it.
Hold on a minute. There's a big difference between Brett Favre and Frank Gore. All right?
In what?
Huh?
In durability?
Brett Favre could come in right now and win a Super Bowl.
No,
Yeah, he could. Brett Favre could come in right now and throw for 4,000 yards. Yes, he could. Yes, he could.
We might be having our first live trade going on during the middle of our podcast right now. Me and Jordan Powell.
I thought Favre was
trying
saying
to-
he was coming back.
I know.
Favre's coming back. I'm getting in on the trade.
Pick him up.
Me and Jordan are trying to work something out right now.
All right. Let me ask you one more question about these rushing yards leaders. Now I want to talk about that trade.
Let's get back to the Americans
So-
after.
Who? There's one more player, active player, that is in the top 10. Active running back in the top 10. Who is it?
Well, Peterson, wouldn't it?
Adrian Peterson.
Oh, yeah.
He
Well, that
is-
shouldn't even be
Well,
that
let me
difficult.
guess before you do it.
Okay.
I want to go where you said it's 7, but I'm going to go one up and go 6.
I'll say 5th.
He is 5th. He is 1,100 yards behind Frank Gore. So who ends up with more rushing yards career-wise, Adrian Peterson or Frank Gore?
Frank Gore, because Peterson's had injuries.
I also think Peterson's they might retire at the same time.
They might. Frank Gore's got 2 seasons on him. Adrian Peterson, 2007 was rookie year. Frank Gore, 2005 was rookie year.
And Peterson missed the whole year with the ACL.
Yep.
And he missed a whole year with the whole,
We don't need to discuss that.
Yeah, we ain't got to discuss it, but he missed a whole year there.
The situation.
All right, what's this trade you talking about, Jake?
Jordan's struggling a little bit at running back, and I'm struggling a little bit at receiver.
This was talked about at breakfast, by the way.
So we are trying to work out something. Singletary hasn't looked bad in Buffalo. He's actually now out-touched Zach Moss.
Zach Moss is also out this week.
So
That's
been kind of talked about. I'm also trying to get a little depth at receiver, so trying to get maybe Judy from him. I don't know. We're in communication as we speak. I'll give you a progress report as the.
So who does
rounding out your outs real quick? Henry Ruggs is also out. Cam Akers is out. James White again is going to be out.
Yeah. Cam Akers, Henry Ruggs, both off Reitmeyer's team. He's just kind of been bit by the injury bug early. I still can't believe he pulled out Monday night. I really thought Henry Ruggs was going to at least.
I was going to just stick it in there and let it go. I know.
I thought he was going to at least have 5.
I called it.
You did.
Told you to stop worrying about it.
You did. I didn't see that coming. And then James White. Man, just terrible.
That's tough.
I hate that for him.
That's tough.
Yeah. All right. So first thing I want to show you guys is that we can actually figure out how much money other people put in on Fab, even if you didn't get them.
So we can snitch.
How's that snitching?
Because other people they didn't care to look for it. So now we're just going to go ahead and throw it out there. Can we see how much money people have left to bid?
Yeah. You can always see that. That's right.
I'm never pay attention. I just worry about what I got.
All you got to do is look right here. So if we look at the standings, you got wins, losses, get your record, you got points for, points against, streak, waiver budget. So right now, Brian, you and Jordan have the least amount of money. And Broach, Baba Booey, Rang City, and Michael all have all of their money left. What do you think about that?
Good on them. Probably.
Get on who?
Certain individual. Good on them.
Oh, good on them.
Yeah.
Good on them. It could be.
Probably need to start spending some money, though.
Yeah. Especially.
You get to week 4 and you haven't tried to do a waiver pickup like that.
Yeah, you got to try something.
Yeah.
All right, so we can look at who put in money on certain players.
We need to give this a name and go through it every week.
We do.
Yeah.
We got to come up with something.
Jake,
all right, so
ideas there?
So, Jake, who was the highest bidded player this week?
Devontae Freeman, which Jordan went out for, a guy who was, again, saying he was pretty desperate at running back. But, we talked about it at breakfast this morning. He hasn't been in that system yet. So how long is it going to take him to catch up to get acclimated to what is going on there? Is Deion Lewis going to have a lot more opportunity? I mean, what's that offense going to do? It wasn't like Saquon was lighting it up before anyways. I mean, he was kind of struggling to find holes. So what are you really getting from Devontae? I mean, he might come in and be the clear-cut one and get a lot of goal lines, but how many goal line opportunities is that? And he spent $45 out of 100 on him. So, Jordan really wanting
swinging for the fences.
But I get it. At the same time, you take your chance on a guy you think is going to win you a championship, and if Devontae Freeman comes in and plays like he did in Atlanta a couple years ago, maybe that helps Jordan where he was weak at running back.
So let me ask you this, Coach, because he is a coach.
That's true.
You should just call him Jake Coach Ruth when you introduce him.
I'll do that.
So anyway, how many weeks would it take Devontae Freeman, in your eyes, to just be the normal running back down on the field, probably 60, 70% of the snaps?
The beauty about football, it would have impacted more if it was like a Chip Kelly offense where it's signs and it's no huddle, it's fast paced. But I mean, you get in the huddle and he can call it all out and turn around and say, Devontae, you're hitting B gap, right side B gap. We're going strong side B gap. I mean, it's not that hard. At this point in their lives, they know football, they know the gaps, they know where they're supposed to go. It's just basically telling them exactly where he's going on the play and then being a football player after that. I think it's a little bit more difficult if it was a receiver. Like if Brown had got signed, Antonio Brown, which I know Jordan had also made that pickup, because then it comes to timing with the quarterback. And that's not the same at running back. It's more like you just got to kind of get a feel for the offensive line and where you're trying to run. But the football language doesn't change to maybe what they call it within their offense. But again, a quarterback will just turn around and be like, yeah, pass protection, or you're doing this. It's not hard for them to communicate, especially consider they line up right beside each other a lot of times. So I say that this week he might be eased in if he even plays. And then week 2, you see a little bit more of him. Week 3, he might be the guy. Or 3 weeks into it.
So you're giving him 3 weeks.
3 weeks and he's full-time taking over.
Is Devontae Freeman the most talented back in that backfield?
Probably.
Freeman, Gallman, and Lewis.
I would like to say Lewis, but since he kind of lost that job down in Tennessee, I mean, don't forget he prevented Henry from kind of emerging there for a little bit because Lewis got so many touches.
Yeah, he did.
And he's a great receiving back, which also took Henry off the field. So I think that was one of the reasons they were kind of ready to part ways with him, so Henry could become the focal point of that offense. But it really determines on what the Giants are wanting to do from here on out, which I think we're all kind of wanting to know that. I mean, are they going to try to make Daniel Jones the guy and say, like, we're going to try to see what you really have so we know we want to draft someone if we're going to have a high pick? Or do they want to stay consistent with, like, let's just find someone to plug into Saquon's role, like Freeman, and let's see what he can do? I don't have a good answer for that yet.
I think they're going to air it out. I really do. I think they're going to air it out because they want to see what Daniel Jones has got. They don't really have, like, a guy that they can give 20 carries to. They did have that with Saquon. They do not have that now. I think they're trying to fill a void. That's one of the reasons I picked up Golden Tate, especially with like Sterling Shepard being out. I think they're going to air it out. I think they're going to have to be competitive. And that division still.
They still might not be competitive.
They might not, but that division's still wide open. Like Dallas is 1-1.
Washington is 1-1.
Washington is 1-1.
It's so ridiculous.
0-2. So that division.
That's a bad division.
Yeah,
Dallas
but I mean, Daniel Jones isn't the guy that could come in and we're going to be looking back at the end of the year and say, well, Daniel Jones won the Giants that division this year. If you're the Giants, you want to suck now. You need to suck.
You
need the top 5 draft pick.
Okay.
But like this division is just up in the air, dude.
Year in and year out, it's up in the air.
It is.
And it's crazy because Dallas should be winning this division every single year.
Here's my
every single year Dallas should win it.
Here's my thing. I want to kind of piggyback on Brian real quick. Is that usually
Climb on up, big fella.
Well, that typically they don't want to just throw it all in and suck because then no one comes to the games and you lose ticket sales and it costs the owner a lot of money. So like coaches are always like, I got to win to try to put fans in the stands.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have that problem this year.
Right.
There are, for the most part,
no fans
in the stands, especially in New York, where they're not going to allow fans all year. So, again, to Brian's point, it's almost like the owner goes and says, it's not going to hurt the ticket sales. Like,
screw it.
Let's get the top 5.
Let's be the Jets this year, fellas. Look at the Jets over there, huh? Let's be them.
I think that is what happens.
You really have a problem with tanking, don't you?
I do, because you play
to win the game.
I know it's cliche, but you play to win the game. Each game could be your last. That's just like the competitive nature. I don't think players throw games. I think maybe coaches. I don't think coaches throw games. I think they may do things that aren't necessarily the best.
Do you think Christian McCaffrey needs to be out 4 to 6 weeks?
If he's hurt that bad, then yeah.
We've talked about the McCaffrey thing, right?
That they're just trying to suck.
Everything that was said before he had that press conference and what he said during the press conference, how it didn't add up at all.
Have you seen what has been like said?
So they were pointing out that the injury happened whenever he got that last touchdown.
Right.
And they said that he was going to come back in for the next drive. Had dadgum, who were they playing last week? I'm having the biggest brain fart. Tampa. Had Tampa not scored that next drive, he would have come back out. Tampa scores. No point bringing him back out. Game's over, sit him.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what that came down to. So I read that. That was on Twitter. That was on Bleacher Report. He's just said out there was no point bringing him back in. I wasn't worried. Then the next day, McCaffrey's out 4 to 6 weeks. McCaffrey has a press conference, says he heard it in the third quarter, tried to play through it, and he just said, I'm not 100%. If I can't give you 100%, I don't need to be on the field. So now he's out 4 to 6 weeks when he could have come back in and played. That doesn't make sense.
You think, it wasn't more serious the more they looked at it?
I think that they're just going to go ahead and haul him out, and they're looking at either a very nice offensive lineman or a generational quarterback.
Teddy Bridgewater.
No, Bridgewater's although Bridgewater, real quick, as nobody's really talked about him. If you need a quarterback, Bridgewater is a good pickup.
Solid.
I will say this as a Panther fan, unless you get Trevor Lawrence, which I don't think the Panthers are going to get him. I think the Jets are worse.
I think the Jets will take Trevor Lawrence over Darnold.
They've given him some time.
He could be the Ghostbuster.
Brown.
That should be his nickname if they draft him. The Ghostbuster.
Trevor Lawrence is locked in at number 1. Whoever is at 1, Trevor Lawrence will go number 1. I am big on the offensive tackle out of Oregon, and I think that is where my attention will go.
Lord knows Carolina needs an offensive lineman.
I am big on, if you're going to bring in a franchise quarterback, you better be able to protect them before you throw him out there.
Absolutely.
Because look at Luck and all the injuries he suffered because they spent the next 6 years trying to build an offensive line around him.
They finally got that line, but he was just
like
how unlucky.
Mentally.
Huh?
That is
unlucky.
Anyways,
you get
Carolina,
Andrew Luck?
Around Newton, which they never drafted a first-round offensive lineman during, I think, his whole tenure.
No, they didn't. And he got beat up a lot and by the injuries. So second on our waiver wire fab this week. So we had Devontae Freeman go 45. The next highest bid was Jake with 22. So who had the second highest winning offer? What player? Brian.
Oh, we're coming to me?
Yeah.
The Darrell Henderson, right,
Henderson.
31.
31. Darrell Henderson, Cam Akers being out, Reimar picking up Darrell Henderson. That kind of gives him a little bit more leeway, I guess.
Yeah.
Since they did play for the same team. Malcolm Brown just had pinky surgery. He's actually supposed to play this week.
Who does?
Who has pinky surgery? I mean, if it's jacked up, I mean, what do you want him to do? I mean, they have the money to get these surgeries that they need. Dude, I got a jacked up pinky. You think if I had an opportunity, I would get that thing operated on?
What's there to operate?
What's to operate? Dude, I can't straighten that bitch out. Like,
it's straight now. Well, you're double jointed in your pinky.
That's not double jointed, dude. That's because of baseball injury when I was 8. I don't know what it feels like to have regular pinkies.
So you had it when you were 8. So you weren't able to play baseball successfully for the rest of your
I've had this pinky
baseball
since
career.
I was
born. Oh, really?
Now, it became injured when I was 8 years old.
That's what I'm saying. So the injury happened when you were 8.
Yeah.
So you weren't able to successfully play baseball after you were 8.
Yeah, I think it held me back. I think it held me back. So Darrell Henderson, 31. Second highest offer was Score with 16. Ranziti with 6. And I put in an offer of 0. Didn't get him that.
Yeah, that's crazy.
We had another $31 offer, winning bid. Who was that, Jake?
Mike Davis.
Good pickup.
Running back from Carolina.
It's a good pickup.
So Scorp got him 31. See, victim of the system put in a little bit of fab money on Mike Davis.
I did. Just wavered, see if he, if I got him, I got him. If I didn't, I didn't.
So Christian McCaffrey, he's on IR, so he's out at least 3 weeks before he can even return.
So it's a rental.
It is. Because,
compared to Devontae, where it's like he's got opportunity to be the guy from here on because that dude is not.
You're looking at an RB1.
Yes. You're looking at Mike Davis, who, again, he had a good when he came in, but they also moved who's the dude that came in last year?
Bonifant.
They moved him back off the practice squad.
Yep.
And then I was reading a while ago they have been getting Curtis Samuel reps at running back.
Which when they drafted Curtis Samuel, that's what they said that was their whole plan. Curtis Samuel was going to be like a jack of all trades kind of guy. We could throw him out there at receiving. We could throw him out there at running back because him running back at Ohio State when he did some.
Second leading rusher for Carolina last week after
you can pull him up real quick.
McCaffrey was
Curtis Samuel?
Yeah.
Curtis Samuel.
See what he did last week.
Yeah, we can pull Curtis Samuel up. Mike Davis, I think that's a good call, Jake, that he is kind of a rental. And I think that plays a large part into like your bids. Because, who's a guy that may be worth it in the long haul? Who's a guy that's just going to kind of give me from week to week? I know I think of that when I'm putting in bids on players.
Right.
31.
It's a little steep, but if you want them,
that's what
you got to do it.
Curtis Samuel last week, 4 rushes for 26 yards, 2 receptions, 13 yards.
So over 5 yards a carry.
Yep.
And what was his receiving?
2 receptions, 13. He wasn't actually used a lot in the receiving game.
Well, you also got to remember McCaffrey. It was pretty much that last drive.
Yep.
He hadn't really looked involved in the passing game at all so far.
And that was something where when I was reading on it, they basically said we don't want to give any of the game plan away, but the OC, Joe Brady, said we need to find ways to get him the ball, which in my mind is like we maybe not a receiver, but we're going to use him as Montgomery or some of these other guys.
Well, you can throw Samuel in and pretty much keep your McCaffrey style offense. Not saying he's anywhere near Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah,
but he's a fast guy. He's got good vision.
Yeah.
He's got speed.
Jumps out of the backfield where if you take everything vertical, which Carolina threw it, God, Teddy Bridgewater threw it like 50 times on Sunday.
351, didn't he?
I mean, like actually
351. I'm talking about 351 yards.
Talking about Bridgewater?
Yeah.
We can check that real quick.
But, I mean, you're not going to throw Curtis Samuel back there as your main running back. But like Jake's saying, that man breaks a tackle. I mean, he can go from a 5-yard carry to 25, 30 yards. He's got that kind of speed.
367 for Bridgewater. 33 for 42, 367, no touchdowns, 2 picks.
I mean, you don't like the picks, but
he's only got 1 touchdown in the season.
Yeah, I mean, that's got to change, and it will change. But, I mean, it's basically showing they're not afraid to let him just toss it.
Yeah. It's going to have to change because
you've got 6 weeks, and it won't be 6. Probably be more like 13, 14 weeks.
You don't think he comes back?
No, he's coming back. I'm worried about him at the end of the season.
I know, I'm a little worried too. Who we got next on our waiver wire fab?
Segue to Jerick McKinnon.
Who picked him up?
I did for 20.
So was this more so because Raheem Mostert?
This was depth purposes. I technically didn't have to pick anybody up.
Brian, you really don't have to pick anybody up.
No, I didn't. But, I mean, I would be stupid to not go out there and try and I need another running back in case something happens to Robinson or Gordon. I can't leave myself out of dry.
Does Jerick McKinnon get the bulk of the carries in San Francisco this week? Yes.
I was saying yes all week up until what Scorp said the other night.
I was thinking the same thing what Tyler said.
Was that what Tyler said? I thought
Scorp
said it first.
He was talking about the field conditions.
Oh, no.
That's what I was thinking.
I was thinking about who's that other running back? I picked him up.
Wilson Jr.?
Yeah. I ended up having to pick him up, and which I shouldn't have done because it was like a panic pickup, which you should never do. But they're talking about how he's going to get all the early down carries and he's going to be the red zone guy. So I don't know. Yeah. And there's really only one news agency that's talking about it. And it's the San Francisco Chronicle.
Oh, we'll shout out.
Yeah. So I don't know, man.
What up, San Fran Chronicle?
Yeah.
I'm open for opinions on this.
Fantasy Football 5.
Represent. Jake, what you think? You think McKinnon, Wilson?
Who's the head coach in San Francisco?
Shanahan.
I feel like him and his dad are kind of famous for like just plugging random guys in there and somehow the system still works. Now, McKinnon could be that guy, or it could be some guy that they signed from a cell phone company that was selling cell phones and comes in and tears up. It happened in Denver when Jay Cutler was there, remember? You're trying to remember the name?
I'm trying to remember who that was.
I wish Ron Roberts was here because you know he would remember. But they literally signed a guy who was selling cell phones. I feel like it was at Sprint.
I almost said
or
Joey Bale. It wasn't Joey.
How about we keep going? I'll look it up real quick.
All right, that's a good one. I don't know. I don't really know what to expect out of that backfield this week, but I would say when Mostert comes back, it's
his backfield.
And that was kind of something we didn't know before these first 2 weeks.
No.
Everybody thought that it was going to be kind of an even share between. Yep. I wish it should say everybody, but
Tatum Bell.
Man, I was close with Joey though.
Yep.
The Bell.
Yeah. I could have said Le'Veon, but that I
Wouldn't have made any
further
sense.
off,
Yes,
further
Michigan
off.
State, straight up to the NFL.
But like a lot of people at the beginning of the year were looking at Mostert, Tevin Coleman, Jarrett McKinnon. It's just like, dude, I don't want any part of that.
No lie, when I drafted Mostert, I never picked him up on a single mock. Wasn't on any list I had. And he's just sitting there, and I just drafted him because I was looking at the rest of them. I thought, man, I need another running back. I'm going to go ahead and grab him. And I went to Reitmeyer right after the draft, and I said, you know what? San Fran guy, you want Mostert? I'll give him to you. It ain't got to be anything major. Now, you're going to have to sell me the house.
Yeah, I wish I'd known that. I really wanted Mostert. I really did. It was between him and Kareem Hunt, and I went Kareem Hunt.
You got to catch up on Mostert.
I mean, it is what it is. Yeah. I still feel good about Kareem Hunt, but
you should.
Having both of them nice. All right, so who is next on our waiver wire ads for this week?
Indy's defense.
Mike
Myers spit $6.
Yeah, it's really not too much to say there. Who does Indy play this week? I guess that's probably the question.
The Jets.
Oh, good point. Hey, good pickup, right, Meyer?
Wasn't there? Remember when we all used to kind of alternate different years, picking up teams that were playing Cleveland?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just to run their defense. Yeah.
Do you think that strategy works better, or is it just better to draft a defense a little bit higher, or pick one up early in the season and just kind of ride them out?
It's nice to not have to worry about your defense, but I mean, if you got to pick one up every week, you got to pick one up. It's all just strategy.
What do you think, Jake?
I feel like if there's a good defense late, I always try to grab them, but I've always been one that you play the matchups.
Oh, the matchups.
So I also like going in divisions. So sometimes I look for a defense in a division where I believe the teams around them suck. So, like, you might go look at NFC East and say, is there a team that I could grab out of there?
Yeah.
Washington's
defense. I mean,
not a bad thing. Other than playing Dallas, who might light it up. You get to go against Philly, who right now is an absolute joke, and then the Giants. So
then you got the NFC South, where apparently everybody's offense is decent. Everybody's defense sucks.
There's a lot of turnovers in the NFC South.
There is.
That's been the one.
You get that.
Race.
But I'm going to tell you what I've noticed this year. It might just be me. Defenses are putting up pretty good points first couple of weeks. Certain defenses, not all of them.
Well, I will say this: like our addition of fourth down stops, adding that point has actually came into effect. Week 1, I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. I believe it was Baltimore. I want to say Baltimore when they played Cleveland. They had 4 fourth down stops.
Oh,
because Cleveland was down ridiculous like the whole game, and so they
had to go for it.
And that's 4 points right there. Like that's not huge difference.
That could be that's a difference maker.
It definitely is. I like defense carrying a little bit more weight in our league.
Needs to. We got rid of kickers. We might as well make the defense a little bit more special.
I'm playing in the league this year that there is no defense.
We don't care about anybody else's league.
Okay,
Do we care about anybody else's league, Jake?
It's a super flex instead of a defense. That's all I was going to say.
Jake did shake his head no.
So, last two. Jake, you got both these last two guys waiver wire this week. Who are they?
I spent $3 on Curtis Samuel and $2 on Jordan Reed.
Which we've kind of talked about both of them so far.
Yeah. I picked up Jordan Reed. I think I even mentioned it on Tuesday that I was going to place a bid on him, mainly because of Kittle's absence and that when he given the opportunity, has performed quite well. I think he had 20 points last week, if I'm not mistaken, had a really good week. And then Curtis Samuel was literally like...
Is Curtis Samuel the one that you talked about Tuesday that you wanted to
tell me about? I was really...
Frustrated the piss out of me that he wouldn't.
Because of everything that I had just remembered talking about throughout training camps and stuff like that, Curtis Samuel might, in this new offense, see a more diverse role other than just a wide receiver. And, it does help that I watch a lot of Carolina football games, is that he fits into a mold of a McCaffrey more than what I've seen from the others. So I just figured it was a low risk, but could be a high reward that you could have a running back that you could play at receiver because he's not listed as a running back. So for a guy that's struggling at receiver, I'd love to have a running back that I could put in there.
That's a good point. My last thing with the waiver wire this week, I want to make this known. Tom Brady got dropped. And you remember, at the beginning of the year, what Renz did he say? He said Tom Brady's going to be the guy after he took him the round after he took Deshaun Watson.
He took him before Dak Prescott, Russell Wilson, Cam Newton, and all these other Aaron Rodgers. I mean, all of these guys.
Best quarterback of all time.
Well, he is the best quarterback of all time.
Aaron Rodgers?
No.
Tom Brady? Yeah. Brady? Oh, yeah. Dropped him for Myles Gaskin.
Well,
I mean, I just want to throw
I wouldn't show up today either.
Throw that out there. All right, so let's take a look at some matchup previews for week number 3. All right, so we will go through matchup of the week last. So let's take a look at a few matchups this week and just some general things that stand out. So I guess let's just start with mine. This is the top of the list on my page. We'll start there. So cult of personality versus Scorp. What stands out to you about this matchups right out of the gate? I'll tell you mine. The fact that I am projected to lose by 12 sticks out pretty glaringly.
Does that make you mad? Do you feel like you're underrated in that?
Well, I went through position by position, and he's got a better team than me right now, which is fine because I didn't build my team.
Majority of it's at your wide receiver.
Yeah.
And then your first running back. Well, and running back.
Yeah, running back.
You got to beat the tight end.
I'm going to have everybody beat the tight end one way or another. I'm going to have everybody beat the tight end. I'm going to have them beat a quarterback every week. But
wouldn't go that far yet.
Pat Mahomes, only quarterback.
Touch my boys.
Only quarterback I can see being projected more than Pat Mahomes would be Lamar on a certain week, or
Russell
maybe
Wilson
Russell Wilson.
Dak. Dak's been putting up monster stats, and Cam Newton run the ball is going to be up there. I mean, again, I have Patrick Mahomes in another league, and so far he's put up 20 and 28.
And I think those are on the lower end.
But he's also in a division that's got a pretty good defenses around him. I mean, San Diego gets after him and causes some problems. I don't think Oakland's bad up front. I mean, sometimes I like to look at some things along those lines. So Russell's put up 31.78 and then 33.42. I think Cam's been right there with him, and Dak put up, 40 last week?
He did.
So, again, I mean, I agree. I'm not questioning Pat Mahomes' greatness, but I think they're trying to get a little bit more balanced in Kansas City.
Greatness.
Well, I agree with that. I'm saying projection.
Then there's Brian McCain.
Just look at raw projections. I think Pat Mahomes projection-wise is going to be projected as the top 3 quarterback every single week. Now, whether he ends up being the top 3 quarterback every single week, there's going to be some volatility from different players. But when you just look at raw projection, that's same thing with Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce may not be the highest scoring tight end every week, but he's going to be projected as that top 1, top 2, top 3 every single week. That's what I'm saying.
What's your thoughts on AJ Green? Are you giving up on him yet?
No, I'm not giving up on him yet. He hasn't played in a year and a half. So I would like to see something happen this week. He's got the most targets in the NFL right now.
Mm-hmm.
He's getting targeted a ridiculous amount. It's just
he's not doing anything with him.
I gotta see him do it.
This week's projections at quarterback, just FYI for it, is number 1, Lamar Jackson at 25.91. Kyler Murray is at number 2, 24.06. Russell Wilson, 23.27. Cam Newton, 22.89. And then Pat Mahomes and Dak are right there at 5th.
What's that on?
Yahoo.
It's right here. I'm looking at 23.25. I don't know why yours is showing that.
I don't either. Because it's got 23.25 right here for Pat Mahomes.
You really hurt his feelings with Pat Mahomes beating everybody every week with quarterback protection.
Well, in projection-wise, he's going to be one of those top guys every single week.
It's okay.
I mean, that is it.
I was just saying,
you're wrong, Trogdon.
I don't know. Anything else stands? What about Scorp's team? What stands out to you about the Scorp's team? I'll tell you mine right off the bat.
Yep.
Miles Sanders looks good. Alvin Kamara should have went 9. Sucks he got both of them.
Him being upset about Kamara really upset me. And then he wants to come out, this week and say, how about Kamara?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Scorp's got a good team. He doesn't need to panic at all. And I feel like he is panicked. When you talk to him, he somewhat seems panicked. And then he looks back at his prior week and says, you know what? Good week. It was a nice week. So, yeah, Scorp's got a good team. It's going to be a closer matchup It's not going to be no 12-point matchup.
I hope
No.
not. 12 points in my favor. What has to happen for me to win?
Well, Pat Mahomes is going to have to put up 23 against Baltimore. Like, that has to happen, that's a tough thing. Gage, what we talked about earlier, he's got to do number 2 wide receiver things this week.
Okay.
He's not going to do what Calvin Ridley does at wide receiver 2. But he's going to have to a decent week, and I think he's going to do better than his 9.35 projection. Derrick Henry has to start coming close to his projections.
Yeah, that's the only thing that's hurting him. He hasn't scored. He's second in rushing yards. He hasn't scored. And most of that's volume.
And you would think, if anything, it'd be the other way around.
That he would.
His rushing yards might not be up there.
He's just getting so many carries. Like he's averaging less than 4 yards a carry.
He's a huge man.
Yeah.
So you get to the 5-yard line, just give him the football.
Tannehill, they've been.
No, Tannehill. I mean, you can't go wrong with Tannehill, but I mean, as a fantasy owner of Derrick Henry, give him the damn ball.
Yeah,
and that's what you want.
Yeah. I want to see him score a touchdown.
Darren Waller.
He's got to have a game on the other night.
He's got to play, and he's going to play. But I mean, you just need him in the game. Yeah. And mostly, you need AJ Green to play. If he's got the most targets, you said he's got the most targets?
Yeah.
With the most targets in the NFL, he's got 7.6
I know he has
or
the most
4.4.
air yards. I know he has the most air yards by a pretty good margin. Targets, I can check that real quick.
9 and 13.
9 and 13?
Mm-hmm. So 22.
Waller had 16 the other night. I can check that real quick.
But 13 targets and 29 yards last week.
All right, so
you can't do that.
Who you guys taking in the matchup?
I'm going to go Scorp. Scorp's got a good week coming up.
Scorp.
Kamara, I feel like, might destroy Green Bay.
All right, so AJ Green, he is tied at 4th in targets. He has 3 targets less than DeAndre Hopkins, who leads the league. So his most air yards, I do know that for sure. My matchup, I'm gonna take myself. I got some faith that something big is gonna happen this week in my favor. I don't know what it is, but I got some faith. All right, so let's check out our next matchup. So our next matchup for this week, we are looking at Autobahn Time, Josh Broach versus Jordan of Jordan's team.
Really needs to come up with a name.
I think he's just going to stick with Jordan's team.
It's Jordan. He doesn't care, which is fine.
So another, call it lopsided projection maybe. Jordan is projected to lose by right at 9 points. What sticks out in this matchup, Jake?
I love the quarterback matchup right there at the top.
That's a good matchup.
Lamar going against Kansas City. Feel like that dude might take it to another level because he's going against Patrick Mahomes. I think that is something to go back to kind of harp on what JT had mentioned earlier. I think that could turn into a shootout. So, again, I agree Pat Mahomes' projection might be higher this week than what it actually is. And then Lamar is actually projected higher than him. So, I feel like those two could be fun to watch. Las Vegas defense, I don't know exactly what's going on with them. One week they don't look very good, and the next week they do. So see what happens there with Cam. Is he going to light it up like he did last week or not? After that, I mean, look.
Am I alone in thinking that Jordan needs to sit Devontae Freeman this week and start Cohen? Against
I do not want to start Cohen.
Against Atlanta.
If I was Jordan, I would feel, golly.
Cohen's score
really doesn't have an option.
Here's Cohen's score so far this year.
I'm looking at him.
Detroit, a bad Detroit team, 5.7, and against the Giants, 3.2. I do not put a guy that can't score for 6.
5.7 and 3.2. So that is what, 8.9?
Yeah, he's not even scored over 10 fantasy points on the.
Well, in Jordan's defense, I'll say this: Devontae Freeman could do more than that.
He could get a touchdown.
And
Cole will not get a carry at the goal line because they got Montgomery who's going to go through it. But he might have another running back.
I still feel like this matchup's going to be closer than what is projected to.
He might have another running back.
Depending on.
And he does.
Will it get past in some?
I mean, I'll shoot it through as long as nobody's got like any If only
Objections.
it would be one of those things I
He
got to
might
send
have-
out a text and
Jordan can work with me a
Everybody
little
speak
bit,
up.
but he might have another running back.
yeah, that I can push it through, but that will have to happen. I'll send out a text, see if anybody's got objections. Almost like a public veto.
His big problem, he's still got
Julio.
Julio Jones in his lineup, and I'm looking at his bench, and
Who does he start if Julio's out?
well, the only one that he really can is Judy.
No, he
questionable
isn't.
as well.
He got Diggs that he can bump up there, and then throw anyone in at the flex.
He could. I mean,
Yeah, he could do
Cohen or
I don't know if
Michelle.
y'all have actually seen like
Here.
Diggs' stats. I think he's a top 10 receiver right now.
Yeah, Diggs looks good. Diggs looks good.
Well,
Josh Allen.
that's why Josh Allen's look good.
Yeah, both of them look good right now. Depending on if Julio plays, that could be a big factor in this matchup. On Broach's end, I'm surprised that Broach hasn't gotten a new tight end yet.
Yeah.
Austin Hooper just does not look involved.
What
at
a
all.
bad signing. Why?
Would you
And
start-
I like Njoku. I mean, as soon as they made that signing, I wanted the Panthers to go trade right then and there for Njoku, who I think is a freak of nature.
He's very athletic at tight end position.
He gets hurt a lot, but they're not even using tight ends right now.
No, not really. Would you start
Jiggly butt.
Dalton Schultz from Dallas?
That's what I was just looking at.
Would you start him over Austin Hooper?
Yes,
Sleep Schultz.
he's
He
the
had a
fourth.
big week last week.
Seven-
He's the
17.3
fourth
last
option,
week.
but no one's covered him because you're so
Right.
worried about everything else. You're like, who's that guy? They don't even know his name.
And that was the case for Blake Jarwin this year. Is that look? There's going to be so many mouths to feed, and they're going to have to put coverage in different places to stop Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb, Michael Gallup, Ezekiel Elliott,
CD Williams looked good.
and that was the whole case for Blake Jarwin. And Blake Jarwin tore his ACL. Now Dalton Schultz is in, and Dalton Schultz
10 targets last week.
Yeah, and they were down. They had to throw the football, but they're going to throw it more against Seattle than I believe Cleveland's going to throw it against Washington. That's my belief.
I'm with you. That's going to be a good game against Seattle.
It should be a good game. Anything else that sticks out about this matchup? I will say this: Juju was questionable earlier in the week.
Juju
said that he's playing, so he's not got any injury tag on him. Outside of that, all right, Leonard Fournette. Is it his job?
I don't know.
I think so. I thought he looked the best.
I did too. I
thought Jones. I mean, he ran hard a couple different times, but he put the ball on the ground. And as soon as that happened, he didn't get. I don't know if he got another touch.
I don't believe
He did a lot with a little,
And
didn't he?
Shady dropped a touchdown right in his lap.
He did a lot with a little.
I think they went out to get Fournette because they wanted Fournette to like they're win now mode. Like they are.
We got a 42-year-old quarterback. Yeah, the window is extremely small.
So I think they went and got
Browns.
Fournette because he was the best option, and I don't think they ever had much faith in Ronald Jones. I just don't.
I think I mentioned that before where I was like, you don't sign two different running backs if you think this is the guy.
The McCoy signing I understood because veteran guy can kind of mentor. He can step in.
He sounds like Mel Kiper.
You do.
Veteran guy coming under the radar.
He can step in. He's going to be good in pass protection. He's going to be good if you
Fournette came in the year with McCaffrey. He was drafted ahead of McCaffrey.
Yeah.
So this is a young
Thank God, too, right?
They was drafted before McCaffrey.
Yeah.
A lot of people were upset in Carolina. They wanted Fournette because he was the more prototypical running back.
He's a huge man as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, he is.
And he ran downhill against us. I mean, that's kind of his
Fournette
calling.
looked good. He did.
Well, I think he opens up the passing game more because now if you leave a small box, 6-man, 7-man box, he will run through arm tackles and he'll get 4 or 5 yards. So now you bring 8 men into the box. Now you got favorable matchups in the passing game.
God, it's so attractive when he talks football like that.
All right.
I see you smiling.
So who you got, Broach or Jordan in?
I'm going to go Broach because Broach is the scariest team in football.
Every week we go against Jordan, and Jordan's third at 2-0.
That's true.
I don't.
But I'm going to go Broach this week.
I mean, looking at the matchup, you would say Broach. I think Jacobs plays. I think Edelman plays. I'm big on Jacobs. I know a lot of other people at this table are big on Jacobs.
That was my bold prediction.
And what's your bold
Jacobs.
prediction?
And I still feel good about that. So who you taking?
I'm gonna go Jordan. Really it should be Broach, everything else, but Jordan just has found ways to win so far, and I hate betting against people like that.
He's picking Jordan
because he wants this trade.
No. He's picking Jordan because Jordan bought us candy this morning.
He did.
And the little peg game, little tea game he bought us that. He got you one.
What?
We'll give it to you.
Yeah. We'll give you the toy too.
I'll take.
I thank you.
I'll take Broach. Broach should have won last week. He left a lot of points on the bench.
Absolutely.
I'll take Broach.
Ron Robertson somewhere is calling me an idiot, and you're an idiot. Remember when Andrew picked Jordan over me, and Ron looked at him and called
What's
him
next week's matchup?
Next matchup we have. All right, looks like turd sandwiches versus all Barkley, no bite. But actually now it's no Barkley.
All bite.
0 bite.
Oh.
Yeah, there still is no bite. So I guess we can look at what Michael's lineup already consists of, which is Gardner Minshew. Dude, I thought Gardner Minshew was going to have a good game. I really did.
Quick stat. Did you know anytime Fitzpatrick has started against Jacksonville, he's been on 8 teams. Mm-hmm. He's played Jacksonville with all 8 teams.
He's beaten every time?
Beating Jacksonville every time.
Wow. Fitzpatrick looked good, man.
Yeah, but dadgum, that's the thing about Fitzpatrick.
Well, he's going to
he did good this week. And then you're like, he's not going to do it next week. And then he does it next week. I'm going to pick him up. And then the next week, he sucks.
Yeah.
But the bad thing was I was scrolling through, and I saw that Michael had 18 points. I thought, man, somebody did good for him. Yeah. Then I realized it was his quarterback and his tight end, and that's not good.
Yeah, Gesicki got bailed out with a 15-yard touchdown because that's the only catch he had.
That's ridiculous. I did not even know
Gesicki's been looking good, too. But it's just kind of the beast at tight end, dude. Unless you have like a top 5 tight end, it gets tricky because some weeks they may go off. Like Tyler Higbee had 3 touchdowns last week, but on 5 catches.
So based on what you said about Daniel Jones earlier and then marrying it out, is Elvin Ingram the guy you start putting in from now on?
Honestly, Michael's squad, the tight end I like the most is Noah Fant. And I like Noah Fant not only because, again, he's a big, fast, athletic tight end, but also because Cortland Sutton is out for the year now. Mm-hmm. Again, like Phil Lindsay's out. They got injuries. They got to find ways to get the ball to playmakers. I think Noah Fant is a mismatch. I like Noah Fant. I would probably start him every week if it was me.
Okay.
But I get the Gesicki pick. I definitely get that because it's not like Miami's got weapons.
They scored 31 points and he only had 8, which is a little disappointing. He did have a touchdown. I think that was his only catch.
It was
1 out of 3 for 15-yard on a touchdown.
Yeah, it was his only catch, and that was that.
We just said that, right?
No, I mean, like I was kind of getting at, they put up 31 points.
Oh yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's not.
Last week he had 8 catches for 130 yards and a touchdown.
Well,
so that's 115 yards less, 7 catches less, 8 targets less.
Yeah.
He was clearly the favorite last week, and then this week. Do you think that has to do with Parker coming back? Parker was back last week too, wasn't he? He missed week 1 and came back week 2. It just fits magic.
I think it just has some. I think it's Fitzpatrick. With Fitzpatrick, you just never know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been the case his entire career. Like
that's true.
You were just saying, like, you just never know. I don't know if he has a favorite target. I don't know if he has. Dude, I don't know.
He's got a Harvard degree.
He's got a Harvard.
You know that much.
He's smarter than me. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
I
got a great beard too.
Better than me.
Best beard in football.
I'll go with that.
Okay, Jake. All right.
All right. So what else? So that's Michael. What Michael's got so far. So he's already projected a little bit under what he.
Connor will have a pretty good week, I think.
I need you to push through a trade for me, please.
Is it official?
It is.
I'm going to veto it.
All right. We'll take a look at that in just a moment.
Jake.
So, all right. So how does that change your lineup for this week, Jake?
Juju goes in.
Juju?
Yes.
You got Juju?
Yes, I got.
For who?
I traded him Singletary and Tyler Boyd.
Damn, Jordan. God.
Well, Singletary, that being said, is going to.
I think that's a good trade.
He needs a running back, and he's projected at 15 this week.
Yeah, the desperation part's Juju.
And so, but here's Jordan's thing: is he's got Julio, he's got Diggs, who's been a top 10 receiver. Actually, out of those, his third receiver was Juju. According to fantasy stats, because I try to get Diggs or Juju from him. That's where we've been going back and forth. And he was trying to steal Taylor, which I was not going to trade one of my 3 running backs at the top. But, I mean, I had an option where I wanted to trade Singletary, who's going to get RB1 reps, especially right now. And if he did what he did last year and really owns this week, it could be beneficial for us both.
It could. I mean, that's the reason you trade, is to make my teams better. And I think it does. I think it gives Jordan some depth. I think it gives you some better action at wide receiver. Okay, all right.
That's a good trade.
So I guess it was take Boyd's spot then, right?
Yes. Yeah. And then I don't know what else I'm doing at receiver. CD's not coming out in the foreseeable future.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad that I have him as – I shouldn't say bad, but he will be my number 2. And then the third spot, you have T.Y. in Indy where, they had no other receiver. Campbell tore his ACL, correct?
Yeah.
Paris Campbell. And so I would think I would want to go with him, but they might get up big on the Jets and just really give Taylor the ball. So I don't know if I want to go him. I don't know if I want to go Lazard against New Orleans where it could be a shootout without Devontae Adams, and he might be the number 1. I don't know if I want to go – I kind of want to go Corey Davis, but, I mean, I'm still looking at his stats from last week. He did have a touchdown, but he only caught 3 catches for 36 yards. Or Mike Williams, big target, could go for a touchdown. So I don't know, man. That wide receiver 3 position's just open rotation.
You got a ton of wide receivers.
I have no emergence at wide receiver. I feel like I got guys who are wildly inconsistent, and typically so far I put the wrong person on the bench. So I'm trying to find something where I can at least have consistency within my receiver core, where maybe it's just one spot that's rotating, not all 3. So I'm really kind of hoping CeeDee Lamb gets healthy. Or not CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb stays as my RB3 or wide receiver 3. I'm all over the place right now because of the trade.
He's excited.
Juju would be in there at my number 1, and then at my number 2 when Brown comes back.
It brings you stability.
Yeah. So I think it helps kind of
Gives you more balance because you running backs.
My receiver core. I like my running backs.
Yeah, it shores it up. You got more balance.
Eckler could ever get in the end zone.
Yeah. Josh McKelley's getting a lot more touches than
that's what's been bothering me. Unless Ryan's going to try to trade for him.
He has, I heard this today, he has the sixth most. Why am I adding an L to most? 6th most rushing attempts so far this season.
You need to get you a water and leave it out here with you. You do a lot of talking. You need to wet the old
whistle.
Yeah,
that's an L in it. All right.
Look
Anything else that stands out from Michael's team? Since we just kind of don't know what to expect.
He's going to start Jackson. He's going to start Kupp.
Here's the crazy thing with him. He loses Barkley, but he still has Connor and Drake.
Yeah, he's not
he's still
dead in the water. Yeah.
It's not like it fell apart. His biggest weakness is that he took all these tight ends where he should have took some receiver depth.
Well, he doesn't have any running back depth because the only other running back he has on his team is Zach Moss, who's also out this week. So he only has 2 running backs to start, so he's got to start those 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then a tight end.
Hmm?
I said a flex will be his tight end.
Yeah.
Excuse me, a tight end will be in his flex. I'm assuming, because I don't know if he has enough receivers.
He has 4 receivers. It would have to be KJ Hamler.
It'll be a tight end. I like Ingram because of how much they're going to throw it and a banged-up San Francisco defense.
But I'm going to jump the gun
even
here.
Hurst, man, he's played well, especially if Julio's out. I mean, Hurst could be a good player.
I'm going to jump the gun, and when your quarterback gets 10 points,
you got to go most volatile.
You're screwed,
well,
almost screwed. He could still win. I'm not going to say he can't, but
Wilson against Dallas, and so far Dallas has given up a lot of passing yards. I like that. I like winning that matchup, even if it was against a better defense. But especially considering, I think that game could turn into a shootout. I like CeeDee Lamb because Seattle's passing defense has been bad.
Zeke's going to have a big game.
If the trade goes through with Juju, I kind of like that. So I kind of like the receivers over it. I think Zeke will have a good game. I think Taylor will have the breakout game that Brian was talking about earlier with me.
Jordan Reed is going to do far better than his 7.9 projection.
I hope. And then Eckler against the worst defense in the league.
Yeah, I'd say it like that.
Well, it's true, and And
I know it's true, but you don't point it out.
And I even like Arizona, man.
Somebody's got a
Arizona's
massive
defense
mole
has
on the
been
side of the
good
face. You know what I'm
this
saying? Look at
year,
that mole.
surprisingly. That's a team I picked up for a matchup, and I haven't dropped. So it was kind of one of those strategies we talked about earlier. And they had some favorable games coming up, which Brian knows because he has a lot of Arizona players. But, going against Detroit, who's kind of struggled.
Jake's got this week.
They got Detroit, then Carolina, then the Jets. Those are the next 3 games for Arizona. So I do kind of like their matchup.
As Nancy Pelosi would say, you could take that to the bank.
I say that every week, and somehow I keep it very close. Thank you.
You say Nancy
Ruggs,
Pelosi stuff?
For not scoring.
So who you taking, Brian?
Jake.
Jake, who you taking?
I will also go with myself on this one.
You want my projection? Biggest blowout of the week.
Biggest blowout of the week? Okay. I'll go with Jake as well. Mainly because just Thursday night didn't really go in Michael's favor. I think he's got a solid squad.
He does.
I agree with you on that. I think it was all about, as soon as I saw Gardner put up 10, I was like, well, now I feel a lot better about it.
You should.
But I don't want to discredit any team right now. Like, I think Michael's got a good team.
He could
especially
win.
Considering you lost your first overall pick from a guy who's felt that before with David Johnson with the wrist injury. It feels like your whole year's in scramble mode, especially if you don't get to pick up his replacement. So I remember that year it was like Arizona put 3 different running backs back there and never had another guy emerge to take the spot. And I was just dead in the water with no real running back game. And he did not pick up Devontae, which for him wasn't a need, kind of like with you not picking up McCaffrey's replacement because you had other options at the running back position where you did not feel like that was really the best pickup to spend all your money on. Right. So maybe he didn't trust that offense, which I don't think I trust the Giants offense too much either.
We'll see.
So, again, yeah.
But, yeah, you biggest blowout this week.
Okay. All right, so our 4th matchup for this week, victim of the system, Brian Roberts versus bye week, Steve Reitmeyer. The original projection for this was 134 to 125. Things changed Thursday night, though. Brian, how do you feel about James Robinson?
What a pickup. Thank you, Andrew Renzel, for leaving that.
Dang. That's a nice little nugget he dropped for me, huh? This is what I was hoping for. I was glad he went Thursday. I want to go ahead and get it out of the way because it's like we talked about. I think we talked about Tuesday night. I said, you were talking about how I had the depth of stuff. And I said, yeah, Robinson's done good. But I like him doing good on my bench because I don't have to worry about it.
Yeah,
so for him to come in and put up 27, I'll take it.
Yeah, he looks good.
Especially 27 points and 13 points on the night.
I think the biggest thing about Robinson, nobody really knew what to expect in Jacksonville.
Right.
And whoever was going to take that job would have to really play well to secure that position.
Absolutely.
But at this point, I don't think there's anybody that takes James Robinson's spot.
Have you noticed that here there's an emergence of undrafted running backs just becoming really good?
Why do you think that is?
I don't know.
I don't know. More scouting?
It could be. I mean, you got smaller college guys, and
there's a monopoly on
drafted
guys.
It is. I mean, SEC is going to have 2 or 3 running backs come out every draft. Big Ten is going to have 2 or 3. I mean, that's just how it goes. So you get a guy like James Robinson. I don't even know where Robinson came from.
Georgia Southern.
Is that where it was? Or are you just throwing that out there? All right, hang on. Let me look it up.
It's worth a shot, though. You believe it?
No, oh yeah, you were. The conviction behind it was good.
You got it.
James Robinson College. It's the 3rd thing on there. Illinois State.
Illinois State. How many other football players that came from Illinois State?
I didn't know Illinois State was a college.
I didn't either.
So, yeah, I mean, back to it, James Robinson did good. And it's like I told you earlier, I picked up McKinnon for depth. Now, I've got him in a lineup right now, probably going to change it.
Who do you think you change that to?
It's going to be Robbie Anderson.
Robbie Anderson?
So Robbie Anderson's, the good-looking girl that's not the best-looking girl, but flirts with you enough, and you don't really think about it because you're looking at the other girl, and you realize, you know what? Looks good in blue jeans. Got to go check it out.
Robbie Anderson's really skinny, though.
He's also not a good-looking girl. He'd be an ugly girl.
He also thinks that Sir Purr is a bear.
He does. Well, he does.
So
he also has on targets, the most on the team for sure. And then
He was top 5 in receiving yards.
Yeah, he's.
So James Robinson's a good start to the week. Makes me feel better about it.
You also get Chris Godwin back this week.
I do.
How do you feel about that?
I'm happy to have him back. I really am.
It makes your receivers the deadliest group in the league because you got DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, Chris Godwin. But there's
A little worried about Ridley.
You're a little worried about Ridley this week without Julio?
Yeah, and he's daddy this week.
I think that's the question that I've had like with Russell Gage. Like, how does Julio being out change the offense and change the defense on the other side?
As far as Russell Gage is concerned, I think it's more positive for him when Julio's out.
And you think this is more negative for Calvin Ridley?
I don't know. It's up in the air. If Calvin, I'm not expecting him to do what he does when Julio's out there.
So him having 2 touchdowns this week, you just don't see it.
Yeah, he won't get 2. He might go without a touchdown this week. I've been blessed with Calvin Ridley getting in the end zone so far. And it's not like he's going to do it every week.
The fearless forecast on him, 6 receptions, 77 yards, and a touchdown, which I think is very feasible. And also for a team that's going to be behind a majority of the time or throwing the ball because they can't get a running game established. You know, I could see even without the touchdown, the receptions could be close to 10 this week, if not north of that, without Julio stealing passes from him. So you're saying 10 receptions, there's 5 points, and then you're saying 100 yards, you're still looking at 15 points from Ridley.
Right. And listen, I'm not trying to put Ridley down. Even as a wide receiver, too, he does wide receiver 1 things.
He's a 1B, in my opinion.
Right. I mean, he is a number 1 receiver.
Yes.
But he has yet to have to play as the number 1 receiver. You know?
Yeah.
Because every week he plays with house money because there's Julio.
Because Julio's drawing a double team.
Right.
Every week.
Right. So you're picking your poison. Well, this week, your poison's going to be Calvin Ridley. And they are playing Chicago, and Chicago sucks. I can freely say this. Chicago's horrible. Atlanta will win this game. Mr. Trubisky sucks.
I agree with all of that, except I'm not as confident that Atlanta wins this game.
Atlanta wins this game.
They could. Let's see. So my last question for your team, Brian.
Mm-hmm.
Hunter Henry. You think that is your tight end for the foreseeable future?
He made me mad, or I made him mad last week by putting him on the bench.
So you're starting Henry over Goddard.
Yep.
You seem to be souring a little bit on Goddard.
No, I just, nothing's changed on Goddard. He's still there. Still could come in the lineup at any point in time. But, I hurt Henry's feelings. I need to make up for it this week.
Okay. Oh, I think Hunter Henry's a good tight end. And I think
good
his stock goes up with Herbert.
Yeah. Oh, Herbert looked good last week.
Everyone's stock goes up. I feel better about Mike Williams. Again, thinking about playing him a little bit more because most of what San Diego does is underneath.
Mm-hmm.
Los Angeles. But I agree with the Hunter Henry call. I think that's a big red zone target.
And
Carolina's second.
Every rookie quarterback safety blanket is always their tight end.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Cam Newton's first pass in the NFL was an out route to Greg Olsen. 6 yards.
That first game against Arizona?
Yep.
Yeah, I remember that was a good game. Let's see. So taking a look at the other side at Reitmeyer's team.
Comeback week with Galladay. If he gets to play.
He's got some danger on his team this week.
Dalvin bounce back game, maybe against Tennessee. That's a bad matchup.
I think Tyreek Hill has a big week this week.
John Brown's been lighting it up.
Josh Allen has been lighting it up. Yeah.
That's an understatement.
If you're big on Pat this week, you got to be big on Tyreek.
I'm telling you, Tyreek Hill's going to have a big week.
About that game. I wonder if this could be more of a
dogfight.
I just don't know which way it's going to go. I think it could either be a shootout or it could be like a 17-14 game. I guess that's potential with every football game.
Yeah, unless NFC South's playing each other.
Tyreek Hill was kind of salvaged by a big touchdown last week. Freaking great throw by Patrick Mahomes. Probably even better catch by Tyreek Hill, 54-yarder.
But that's what you expect a week. You just get the ball in his hands, and he's in the open field, almost impossible to catch.
He is. The only thing that kind of worries me a little bit is that so week 1, when Houston played off of all KC receivers, like they played deep, they weren't going to give up the big play, and they made Kansas City kind of dink and dunk and put up yards that way. Sammy Watkins was the best receiver.
Right.
Travis Kelce had a good game. Clyde Edwards-Helaire, again, very good game.
But you would think Tyreek Hill would flourish in those little slant routes and stuff.
He doesn't, though.
I know. It's odd to me.
There's two different philosophies when you attack Kansas City. So Houston we're going to not give up the big play and allow them to take the underneath stuff. They put up 34 points on them. San Diego, who Los Angeles, that should have won the game, was winning most of the game, put pressure. They press man, and sometimes you give up a big play in that because you're willing to take the chances. They give up 23 with a last-second field goal. So there's two different strategies. Are teams going to bail off, or are they now going to say, we're going to put pressure, we're going to jam at the line? That allows for a Tyreek every once in a while to have the 54-yard touchdown bomb.
I think pressing KC is going to make them.
I like putting pressure on Mahomes because when he got hit, he got a little.
I did too, but
that's how I would play.
Yeah,
God, so sexy when you talk like that.
Houston. I would make Clyde Edwards-Helaire run the ball, and I'd make him beat me. Because I think if you put it on Mahomes, then Mahomes is going to beat you.
But even then, you're still allowing for Mahomes to pick you apart for the underneath routes.
Yeah, but if he throws for 250 yards versus 350 yards, I'd rather make the rookie beat me. That's the way I would look at it. I think Houston they had a decent strategy. They're not going to give up big plays. They're going to make you just grind it out. I think they probably should have put more pressure in certain situations, and that's, to me, what hurt them. Yeah. Not like now. Last week I watched both of their games. I watched from first snap to the last snap, and the Chargers look good defensively, getting pressure on Mahomes. They also play very good run defense too.
Because they stacked the box, they set pressure.
Yeah, they did. I think this is just I guess more so of a gut feeling. I just think if the more pressure you put on Mahomes.
I think you have to do it because the best quarterback in the league has all day to throw it. He picks you apart.
I think they're just going to hit a lot of bombs. They'll hit a lot of bombs with Tyreek and Travis.
Who's the other big bomb guy, though? I mean, Hardman hasn't done anything.
But he's still that guy. He plays a lot like Tyreek.
I mean, again, if I'm playing against him, I'm shading a safety towards Tyreek, and then I'm manning across the board and putting pressure on the quarterback and saying these other receivers do something to beat me. Trying to hit Mahomes before they get open 15 yards down the field because you're getting pressure on him.
Those are going to be Travis Kelce games.
Maybe.
Kelce's that's going to be bigger, faster than anybody else going up against him. Well, I shouldn't say bigger and faster. He's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
He'll be one or the other. All right. So Mike Evans looked good last week.
Evans did look good.
Godwin's back. Does that help or
not too
Evans?
much?
I don't think
not a lot of change.
Who was he going against?
Last week they were going against Carolina.
Stop. The timing. Man. Just stop.
The timing with Brady Evans looked good though. Like that.
No, it was
back shoulder, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's what Mike Evans. Like I think even on draft night, I said Mike Evans. I thought was going to be the number one in Tampa Bay because he's a bigger receiver, possession receiver, and Brady does pretty well.
That's what he loves. Yeah.
And he cannot
lie. But I think Tampa's going to get. This is going to be one that they're growing together. Better and better each week. And you can say it with every team, but I mean, the communication will be better. The chemistry gets a lot better. So yeah, Mike Evans. I think the further you go down the road this year, I don't know if he'll do better than Godwin. I don't know. It's on Brady's arm. It's all on Brady's arm.
Yeah. Anything else stand out from Reitmeyer's team?
I'm looking. Dalvin Cook versus Tennessee could be a game changer.
You think would you rather take the over or the under on Dalvin Cook 17?
Under.
The under?
Yeah.
Here's why I go with the under as well. I agree with Brian. Is They had the lead most of their games. I feel like they've been playing behind for a majority of both games they've been in.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of teams don't run it a lot when they're behind.
Mhm.
And I haven't seen a ton from him from the receiving side.
You know, a quarterback change in Minnesota, fantasy-wise, makes a huge difference for everybody.
To who?
What do you mean? Like Dalvin Cook, his job gets a lot easier. The wide
You said a
receivers.
quarterback change.
Yeah. No. I'm talking about like in the future. Like, I don't have anybody in general. I don't think Minnesota's. They've put all their eggs in one basket there, and they messed up. And I think that goes back to the playoff game against the Saints.
Yeah, looking at Dalvin Cook, he has 26 rushes, 12 in game 1, 14 in game 2, has 3 receptions on the year. 1 in
6
game
receiving
1.
yards.
Yeah, so he's not really doing it, and that's what kind of separates Dalvin Cook from, again, a lot of your like good
Your
running
first
backs
round,
from your great
yeah.
running backs
Right.
is the fact that he
The
can make
McCaffrey,
something
the
happen, as a receiver, and he's just not doing that.
You want to pull for Dalvin so much because you see it.
I don't.
I see it. I see it every week. I feel like he could be 20 points every week. I
think
really do.
I think Dalvin's explosive, but
I think
do
he's
not
gotta
want
be-
him on my fantasy team because I want to win and I don't want to.
It's a stress. It is a stress you don't want.
Because you just never know when he's
Right.
The injury, and then a team that's not playing very well and has resorted to throwing the ball mainly.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
With a
I don't
quarterback
like
who can't throw the
I don't like
football.
having a running back on a team that's going to resort to throwing mostly, unless they're a good receiving back. But that obviously
Dalvin
changes.
is though, and that's what I don't understand them not getting more involved in.
Then the coaching staff doesn't believe in him, and that means deeper issues.
Gosh,
I do
it's so
not get-
sexy when he talks like
There's
coaching.
no way that
Well, they just paid him. Like I think they do believe.
Good
Then
pig
well,
and
the
pig.
GM paid him, not the coaching staff. So why are they only got him 3 receptions?
I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you that.
You have to get the ball in his hands.
We need answers, Minnesota.
Without Diggs there, you got Thielen, and then
Justin Jefferson. That was their.
Has he
second
done anything
receiver
yet?
that they-
No, I dropped
really
him.
don't have.
I dropped him.
So
There was no point. And they were talking him up.
I agree. I
Say
agree.
which chest.
I feel like they try to get Kirk Cousins going early in the game, which is the opposite of what you need to do. Even if I'm down 14 like that, I'm still going to run the ball with Dalvin because I feel like that's going to, again, it'll slow things down. It'll allow your defense a little bit more time to rest on the sideline, maybe try to figure out what they need to do. That's another big problem that sometimes people don't even consider. When you go 3 and out so quick, the defense doesn't really get time to rest or adjust, and they're constantly getting lit up on something. I mean, that's how games sometimes can get blown up out of proportion so quick to where it's almost like, well, we got to go out and throw it because we're down 21-0.
Right.
And so I think that, there's a lot of different things to look at in Minnesota right now. I would force feed Dalvin early.
Well, that's why I'm going to take the over on Dalvin because I think they are going to get him the ball a lot this week.
Because you think their strategies have not been paying off so far offensively, and they're like, hey, if we're going to be competitive, we need to slow things down and get the ball to Dalvin.
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
Good call. Let's see if they think the same as us.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, so who you got? Big Smith system versus bye week. Brian, who you take?
Taking myself.
Jake?
His running back more than doubled on his Thursday night projections. I'm taking Bigton.
Brian, I'm taking you until further notice in every matchup you're in.
Thank you,
I
Daddy.
think your team is
The best.
And that's also with losing Mostert and McCaffrey. I still think you have the best team.
It is nice to lose 2 of them and still have somebody
And
put
they're
up
not
27.
going for the season.
Right.
They're coming back.
Let's see. So our matchup of the week, the other 2 members of the Fantasy Football 5 that are not here today.
One for legit reasons. Up there in
Ryan,
D.C.
Yeah, he's out in old Washington, D.C.
Mhm.
Ransdiddy said that his cousin's in town.
The cousin.
From Washington? Or Washington, Wisconsin?
Wisconsin.
Wisconsin.
Not his cousin from Wisconsin that goes to Wisconsin.
Just
His
because.
cousin from Wisconsin.
Okay.
All right, so we have question mark Andrew Ransdell versus Ryan of the Fantasy Phenoms. This original projection before Thursday night was 128.79 in favor of Ransdiddy versus 128.16 against Ryan. Now, Thursday night changed that a little bit. Devontae Parker, 9.4, projected 13.3. Not a huge deal. But it does
Not a game breaker.
sway it in Ryan's favor now. Thoughts?
Ryan's got some tough matchups this week, with the exception of Aaron Jones versus New Orleans.
Surprised he put Robert Woods on the bench.
I am too, because Robert Woods was his first receiver that he drafted. Not saying that you always have to
Right, you don't have to
guys
roll
that
with
you
them every
drafted
week.
in certain order.
I
But
like
think
seeing
it's
him
much-
put Gallup on his bench because that means he thinks CD is going to be more involved. For me personally, I like that. I don't know about the Johnson ad there. He's had like some big plays in Pittsburgh, but he's also made some kind of mistakes there too. I think he fumbled last week.
Talked
didn't he?
about it last week. Ryan loves some Johnson.
He has 23 targets. He is tied for third in targets
Wow.
right now.
It makes me look stupid because he had 19.2 last week, so he had a good game.
892, 657 week 1. I really wanted to try to.
He
trade
had a
Johnson.
fumble loss 2 weeks ago. That's why I missed it.
Yeah, when Juju had a big game, Deontay Johnson, I wouldn't even say take a step back, but 657 is still pretty solid. I think that's a good offense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I would probably still start Robert Woods, and I would start him over Marquise Brown. And I like Marquise Brown though.
Yeah.
But
It depends
I would
on
probably go
what
with
you
Woods.
think the Kansas City game is going to be. If you think it's going to be a little bit more of like a tough game and a little bit more of a defensive game, then you put Brown on the bench. But if you think it's shootout, you keep Brown in.
I think the Buffalo Rams game could be a shootout. With the way that Buffalo's playing, like LA might have to throw the ball.
That's true.
And they get Robert Woods. He had a rushing touchdown last week. Like they get him the ball in different situations. That's just me. I would probably go Robert Woods over Marquise Brown, but I understand the thinking behind that.
He's just got depth across the board.
He does.
He does.
Because even at running back, I mean, he's got good depth.
I like what he did at tight end, sitting Jared Cook. Golly, dude, that's cannot get behind Jared Cook. I just cannot. And Jonnu, I think Jonnu Smith is going to be very good this year.
Yeah, it's a good pickup.
Jonnu, so far, with Tannehill, 4 for 36, a touchdown. Last week, 4 for 84, 2 touchdowns. One of the higher scoring tight ends at the moment. So since this is our fantasy matchup of the week, let's break it down position by position.
All righty.
All right, so Deshaun Watson at Pittsburgh. Does Deshaun Watson kind of right the ship this week? And is it against Pittsburgh? And have they had the worst schedule to start out of a season?
You never want to look at your first 3 games and say, all right, Kansas City. Well, that's a rough one. Who we got week 2? Baltimore. All right. Well, but surely we'll get all right, Pittsburgh week 3. And then, but I mean, it gets a little bit better for them. Minnesota and Jacksonville.
It picks up.
Tennessee,
Is this the week or is it next week?
It's next week.
It is.
I don't like this week. And Dak in a shootout with Seattle. Again, Seattle has the worst secondary in football right now, according to Yahoo Sports. They are that's the number 1 matchup for quarterback this week.
Yep.
So I have Dak in that one, and I think it's going to be maybe a 10-point difference. I'm going that big.
Okay. So you're taking
I think
Dak
Dak,
by.
I think Dak might throw 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Okay. Fair enough.
And Deshaun might get 1 or 2.
I think Deshaun Watson, I'm saying stat line of like 225 passing, a touchdown.
I think he gets
50 rushing and a touchdown.
I think
That's
he
pretty
gets
high.
close to. Now, he hasn't been rushing very effectively
Let's
this
see,
year.
So 225, that's 9 points. Touchdown, that's 15.
I think he's going to come close to his projection.
I guess I did give him quite a bit.
Yeah.
His fearless projection right now is 247, 2 touchdowns, an INT, 31 yards rushing, and that's 20 points.
Okay, so I gave him 1 passing, and I gave him a rushing touchdown.
Yes.
And
That's a
little bit.
I would.
With no, we didn't even talk about
Yeah, I
it.
didn't talk about it. He probably throws a pick.
Yep.
He probably throws a pick.
He'll have a pass. I don't see him getting a rushing touchdown.
All right, so you taking Dak as well in this matchup?
Yeah, Dak's got that one
All right.
fairly easily.
Let's look at the wide receiver 1 matchup. Adam Thielen versus Terry McLaurin. Thielen versus Tennessee, McLaurin versus Cleveland.
Warren's been good. I'm not going to say anything bad. I mean, 8.6, but then 22.
Yeah.
And then you got Thielen doing the exact opposite.
It's 28 and then 4.6. So
Yeah.
What matchup do you like more?
Personally, I think I like.
I don't trust either quarterback.
I don't trust either quarterback.
That's
I like
the worst part. I mean, these guys, this matchup, looking at it with the projections and everything, that's the closest matchup. That those 2 against each other could be the difference in the week.
I think I like Thielen just by hair.
Well, you're a Thielen homer too, aren't you?
Me?
Yeah.
No,
Oh.
not really.
I'm a big
I would-
Thielen guy.
I would say Thielen by hair. My reasoning behind it, I think that I think that Tennessee's good, and they're going to score more points. So
Yeah.
they're going to throw a little bit more.
Goes back to our Dalvin conversation.
Yeah, where Dalvin's got to get involved. I think they're going to throw it a little bit more this week. That's why I go feeling by hair.
I'm in the same boat as you. Hey,
I'm going to go opposite. Just to go opposite.
McLaurin, it wouldn't surprise me if McLaurin has a better week. It does not surprise me. But I will take Thielen just fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's your
take
closest.
Johnson over Slayton.
All right, so Darius Slayton versus Deontay Johnson. Yeah, I'll take Deontay Johnson. Slayton is boomer bust.
Mm-hmm.
Boomer bust.
I don't like that.
I
like him, but I don't like picking him in the matchup because of that.
Yeah, I get that. And Golden Tate comes back this week.
Yeah, that's the
I'm
difference.
big on Golden Tate, man.
It's because you're a Golden Tate homer.
You can say that. I am a Golden Tate homer. But I think Golden Tate is the kind of receiver that Daniel Jones needs more so than Slayton.
Mm-hmm.
Just because Daniel Jones, I feel like, needs to kind of be that, like, sit back in the pocket, take those, like, down the middle shots, those out routes, those type of routes that Golden Tate runs instead of, like, just chunking it down the field to Darius Slayton.
I agree.
So, yeah, I'll take Deontay Johnson. All right. Keenan Allen versus Marquise Brown.
Keenan.
Favoritism, Keenan.
I'm going to take Keenan as well. I think with Herbert, that helps us stop.
Yep.
And they play Carolina.
Yeah.
The worst defense in the NFL.
Stop.
All right, here's a good one. I think this is going to be a fun matchup. These next two are going to be fun. Chubb versus Aaron Jones. Chubb versus Washington. Jones versus New Orleans. Who you got?
You got to go with Aaron Jones.
I don't think you do.
You've got to go with Aaron Jones.
I don't think you do. Why can you not go with Nick Chubb against Aaron Jones?
The two running back system makes a difference.
Okay.
Aaron Jones is the guy. They are possibly going to be short. Yeah, they're short. They're number one wide receiver. And, I mean, you're looking at your defensive matchup. Washington's a better defense than New Orleans.
Let me play this card real quick. All right, I'm probably going to go Jones, but let me make the argument for Chubb.
Okay.
All right, Washington, I still don't believe in that offense. So let's say that they get out to a lead. Who's the most likely running back you're going to see?
More than likely Chubb.
Chubb, because he's the runner compared to Hunt more in the passing game. Jones, again, if I watched last week, he's the guy I'm taking away with no Devontae. Mm-hmm. So I would literally, have maybe two linebackers that are all they're doing is shadowing Jones. I mean, if he goes somewhere, he is going to be maybe double covered and saying, let's challenge any of these other receivers to beat us without Devontae. Mm-hmm. So I feel like he might have everything kind of stacked against him this week. On the other side, Washington and Cleveland could be like a low-scoring bad game where I think the New Orleans-Green Bay game could turn into a shootout, which leaves more opportunity for points for, like, Jones to have 2 touchdowns. Which anytime you say someone's getting 2 touchdowns,
they're most likely going to be the better play. So who you taking? Taking Jones?
Come on, Jake. Come on over.
I'm going to take Jones because of receiving.
Okay.
You don't get that from Chubb.
No, you're not. You're not going to get that from Chubb. I'm going to take Jones here as well, but I still think Chubb's going to have a good game.
Oh yeah, I mean nobody's saying he's not.
Yeah. So running back 2, Joe Mixon versus Chris Carson.
I'm going to flip and go Joe Mixon on this one.
I'm going Joe Mixon. I think Joe Mixon's about to break out.
He needs a breakout game, and I think that's this week.
I'm gonna go Carson.
Okay.
I think that's gonna be another high-scoring game. I think he'll get.
With Seattle, Dallas.
Yeah,
I think it's gonna be the opposite.
Have you watched any games with Dallas so far?
Yeah. But I mean, you're talking about Dallas, Seattle.
You just gave up 40 to Atlanta.
I understand.
Sorry, and they gave up 39 points to Atlanta, where New England just gave up a crap ton of points to, or Seattle just scored a crap ton of points on New England. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I like Carson.
I like Joe Mixon because Joe Burrow's not thrown it 61 times.
And he doesn't throw it down the field.
Joe Mixon has looked good. They just got, like last week, they got down quick against Cleveland. Mm-hmm. So they had to keep throwing it. Joe Mixon had 4 catches, 40 yards. I think Joe Mixon, talent-wise, is one of the more talented backs in NFL. I think they got to get Joe Mixon involved. They gave him a big contract before the season started. I'm going Joe Mixon, but Chris Carson, what has impressed me with Chris Carson is the fact that he's catching the ball and scoring touchdowns.
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah. I didn't see that coming. All right, tight end battle. Mark Andrews.
Think it's closer than the projection shows.
I agree.
versus Jono.
But I'll go ahead and get mine away so y'all can debate it afterwards. I'm going to take Andrews.
Brian.
I'm going to take Smith.
All right, let's see. I can go either way with this because I really like some Jono.
The story of his life.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mark Andrews is obviously the safest.
He's the guy you should
pick.
Right.
But dude, I think Jono's going to score a touchdown, maybe two. I'm going to go back to Jono. That's just based off feeling.
I agree.
Devontae Parker already played 9.4. Does Clyde Edwards-Helaire outscore 9.4?
In the first half.
Yes. First half. Okay.
But, I mean, look.
10 total last week.
Right. I agree.
Nope.
I mean, there's nothing to really argue on that.
No,
because he did. He had 10 last week.
I don't like the matchup.
For Edwards-Helaire? Yeah.
I like Baltimore up front.
Yeah.
Baltimore's solid. Yeah.
They got better in the offseason up front.
Mm-hmm.
They're pretty solid. But I still am going to take CEH.
Were you?
I might have flipped. Had Devontae Parker not played yet?
Mm-hmm.
I might have flipped and gone Parker.
I'm
a little disappointed that he didn't play Duke Johnson. Oh, yeah. No, I said Duke. I mean, David Johnson, excuse me. I just see Houston and D. Johnson. That's what I think of. But he's going against Pittsburgh.
True. Myles Gaskin could have started him. 12 points, not bad. All right, one question on CEH real quick. So he had a phenomenal week 1. Week 2 left some to be desired. Was a little bit more involved in the passing game. Have you cooled on CEH since week 1, or was that just kind of growing pains of being a rookie? Or just, again, not just in the game plan because they got down and they had to throw it?
Well, he's also the product of a team loaded with different weapons. So every week's not his week. Some weeks his number's going to be called a lot more. Mm-hmm. But, I mean.
He was the 7th overall pick. I guess my thing is, at the end of the year, will he outperform being 7th, or will he underperform being 7th, or will it be a wash?
Probably wash. I think he's going to go adequately.
Okay.
He'll be what you want out of a top 10 draft pick. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you're not going to sit there and say, he probably could have gone number 1 overall.
Well, see, now, in week 1, we said that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you're always going to have overreactions. It's week 1. Yeah. We're overreacting. We're going into week 3.
We're just reacting.
You start having reactions about week 5, week 6. You get enough of a sample size then. Carl Edwards-Helaire will have Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
That's what I'm calling now.
Carl is going to. I think his number is going to be called a lot more this week. I really do. He's easily. I probably overreacted by saying he gets 10 in the first half.
You said 9.4 in the first half.
No, Devontae Parker had 9.4 in the first half.
You said he will outscore that in the first half.
Okay. Thinking 10.
Okay, in the first half.
It's maybe not go that way. He's going to get a touchdown this week. I'm going to say 50 yards.
Okay, that's it? And
just on those two.
Top 10 pick?
We're talking about a week.
Okay. Jake, what do you think about Clyde Edwards-Helaire going forward? Because he has kind of been at both. I'm not even saying like he had a bad week last week. I'm not even saying that. He's just been like he was probably the most impressive player week 1, week 2.
I'm going to go the opposite of Brian here. I think he'll be.
Screw you, Jake.
I think he's going to be Ryan's 3rd running back this year.
His 3rd running back? So Aaron Jones, Chris Carson? Not Naheem Hines?
No.
I had to ask.
No, I could easily see it flipping back to the way Brian said, him getting more involved and making it a bigger point of emphasis to get him the ball, to establish a running game, to open up more of the passing game, not put so much on Patrick Mahomes in that passing game. But I could also see with, in the past, like, they just start throwing the ball 45 times a game. They don't like taking the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands. And so that could be something where I look at like Rodgers and Green Bay last year; they had more success, I really think, with Jones, who led the league in touchdowns.
Mhm.
And I was one saying he wasn't going to get 20 last week, and then he goes out there and scores 40 fantasy points and has like 3 touchdowns. So he made me look like an idiot. So I don't know. I like Carson's. I think that offense is really good, and I think if anything, the better Russell Wilson does, the more it'll open up stuff for Chris Carson's, and him being involved in the passing game has greatly increased his value. So I think that's something else.
You know what the worst thing is about Hilaire?
Carl?
Yeah, Carl.
Tell me.
You know the worst thing is, it's not often you get such a talented running back to get drafted to a Super Bowl team right after the Super Bowl.
I think a lot of that's just kind of the modern NFL.
It's true.
Don't
But-
spend high picks on running backs
Right.
anymore.
So-
Except for some teams.
I mean, yeah, a couple teams do, and like you saw with the 2017 draft class, Fournette's already been cut,
Right.
and McCaffrey is the highest paid running back in the league.
Yeah.
So yeah, it can go.
So, he's got to.
Kamara was also in that
Usually you get
What round was it? Third.
third round. I thought it was second. It was third?
for sure.
Probably right.
All right, last part of their matchup: Tampa Bay against Denver versus Buffalo against the Rams. Me personally, I'm going Tampa right here. Denver's down a lot of guys,
I agree.
and I like the Rams. I think they got a good offense.
I agree.
Brian.
Concur.
Okay. All right. So what it comes down to, who you taking? You taking question mark Andrew Ramsdale, or you taking Ryan and Fantasy Phoenix? Who you got?
I'm going Ryan.
Ryan and Brian, the Robs, have the 2 best teams in that fantasy right now. Tell me the biggest weakness you see on Ryan's team.
The biggest weakness on Ryan's team?
You're gonna say it's tight end.
Yeah, I do.
And we just talked about that he might have picked up a guy that could end up being a top 10 tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I think Johnny will be a top 10 tight end.
So now we're sitting there saying he's got tight end 1 when other people have drafted multiple tight ends. Like you personally have 2 of the top 10 on your team.
I got 2 of the top 4.
But you're
Yes,
saying
son.
he's now got 2 of the top. If he's got 1 of the top 10, all of a sudden he doesn't lose every week at tight end. He's got 3 strong running backs. His receiving core is good, and then he's got Dak, who apparently Dallas just is like at the red zone. We're going to give it to him more than we're going to give it to Zeke, which still pisses me off.
Here's all right, so tight end, that's a weak point for Ryan, but I do think Jonnu is going to be that. I think Jonnu is going to be that guy for him. I guess the next part for me is that I believe his receivers are going to be good at the end of the year, but they're going to be hit and miss week to week. Like at the end of the year, I think all 3 will be like pretty respectable. And
So which one do you not like?
Which one do I not like?
Mhm.
I like all of
I
them.
meant like if you think there's a inconsistency, which one? Because I mean, again, he put Woods on
McLaurin.
his bench.
And that's because of quarterback play.
Yeah.
McLaurin.
But
That's
he
what
can
makes
easily
it-
bump him out and put Woods in.
Any other
I think
team
Woods
almost.
is the most consistent.
Yeah, which
That's why I would start Woods.
I don't. Ryan somehow always makes a good start, so I'm not going to question.
It's hard to question Ryan with his starts. He usually makes the right call, or he doesn't get burnt if he makes the wrong one. And maybe a point or 2 difference.
Yeah.
I have not hidden that I was big on Brown, so
I think, like I said, I think Ryan's got a good squad. I think Ryan's got a solid team. I think it is. I think it's a deep team. The only thing I would say outside of tight end is just, again, like I think receivers are going to be hit and miss. But at the end of the year, I think all 4 of them could be like rounds 4 through 6 picks in next year's draft.
Of course.
Which gives them that kind of outperforms what they were drafted as this year.
Mhm.
All right, so y'all are both taking Ryan with the matchup of the week. This may be more wishful thinking because I'm also tied at 2-0 with Ryan. I'm going to go Ransdale, and I'll tell you what has to happen for Ransdale to win. If Ransdale is going to win,
Score more points.
Joe Mixon has to have a big game.
That breakout game has to happen.
He has to have that big game. Joe Mixon has to have that big game.
How many points over projection does he need to get for you to feel comfortable?
10.
So he needs 25 points
He
this
needs
week.
at least 25. Darius Slayton's the other X factor here. Darius Slayton has to catch a touchdown. If he catches a touchdown, it's going to be a deep touchdown.
Yep.
And I think that gives Ramsdale some what he needs.
Wiggle room.
Yeah. Do I think? Yeah, I'm going to go Ramsdale this week, and I think this is going to be the closest matchup of the week.
I'm going to stick on the quarterback part of it, and I just think Dak's going to do so much better than Watson that I don't know if he's got enough talent on his team to make up for the gap that's actually going to cause. And I got burnt last. I put up 170 last week, or 160 last week, and 2 guys killed me on this team.
Yeah,
it's just hard to go against that, especially Aaron Jones going against New Orleans, Dak going against Seattle. Those 2, again, their matchups are pretty favorable. So I have to go Ryan this week.
All right. And Jake, you said you're going with Ryan as well.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, next week we'll have some updated standings on how our picks have worked. I just got to go back.
We need to dive in more broadly next week, just as a whole. Look back at the league and
kind of like some takeaways.
Yeah.
After 3 weeks.
I think we could do that next week.
Okay. All right. Well, we are out of here. Good luck to everybody this week, and we will see you guys later on.